incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 158 of The Grove Podcast. Now, thank you for listening, and I guess depending on if you're a glass half full or glass half empty person, or even an unambitious cuck, to quote Jamie from our WhatsApp group, but it depends. That will influence how you're feeling today. Saying that, I'm sure where you're on that scale, everyone is pretty frustrated, but there we go. We'll talk through those frustrations and helping me talk through those frustrations was going to be a bit of a. I was expecting a bit of a Titan Army invasion on the pod, as there was going to be a trio of a Scotsman joining me, and I was feeling like the Earl of Surrey facing off Mel Gibson, aka William Wallace, at the Battle of Stirling Bridge. But unfortunately, or fortunately, Moz has dropped out, so I'm just left with two. So afternoon, Andy. How are you feeling? You a fan of Braveheart?
A lot better now than I was probably 12, 14 hours ago, my friend. But it's the first time I've ever heard you be compared to Mel Gibson. That's certainly new.
No, I'm the Earl of Surrey. You're Mel Gibson. There we go.
Oh, right, sorry, I can't think like that. But yeah, Braveheart, one of the most formative movies of my childhood. So yeah, can't beat it.
Very good, very good. And also joining us today is Jamie. I guess it's been a bit of a bad week for you, seeing that Italy beat Scotland in the Six Nations rugby, and then they beat you guys in the curling this morning in the Olympics.
I don't care about the curling, but I'm a huge Scottish rugby fan, as you know. And yeah, that was horrendous. Thank you very much, mate.
Sorry, just to add to our woes. But anyway, so today we're going to look back at that Brentford game, sort of assess where we are with how many was it 12 games to go, and then we'll have a quick look ahead to our fourth round tie against Wigan on Sunday. So there we go. We'll try and lift some spirits. We'll try and find some positives if that's where you're sitting, but we're not going to ignore the negatives either. But before we carry on, just a quick favour as always, if you can leave a little rating and subscribe on our podcast apps, on the YouTube channel, that'd be great. Find us at the Grove AFC. Really helps get the word out about what we do on the Grove Podcast. Anyway, so enough of that. Let's get on with the show, and just changing things around from the normal format. I'm going to kick off with Jamie. How are you feeling about last night's game, last night's result? Was last night a good point?
It's a point. It's it's not a particularly good point. It's definitely not a particularly good point, I wouldn't say, because at the moment you want to be getting 3 points, particularly when you're playing against the team that you fancy yourself to beat and have had a good record against in the last couple of seasons. But is it the end of the world? Absolutely not. It's just it's a dropped couple of points, unfortunately. It wasn't at home is probably the plus side of it. Brentford is a difficult place to go. They are a decent team. They're one of those many Premier League teams sitting in mid-table that can beat teams all over the league, and also go and lose to teams all over the league as well. That's why they're mid-table. So yeah, I'm fairly sanguine about it. It was disappointing. I definitely was a bit slightly moody for about 10 minutes after the game yesterday, but get over it.
Okay, and Andy, how you feeling? Do you feel like it was a deserved point, a well-earned point, just in isolation?
I don't necessarily know if it was deserved. I thought Brentford played absolutely fantastically. It was a horrible game. I mean, horrible in the first half because we just didn't turn up. It took till that second half, quite clear rollicking that happened, for us to begin to play any semblance of football. But that didn't change the second half being any more brutal, to be honest. Yeah, I think when you take it in isolation, not a horrendous point. Like, they've been playing well. That long throw is going to make mincemeat of even the best defences, which we quite clearly classify ourselves as. But I think it's just when you build up that cumulative picture, like drawing against Liverpool, drawing against Nottingham Forest, getting beat against Man United, kind of all in 2026. When you add them all up, it's not exactly the momentum, and it's not exactly the kind of dynamism you would expect of a title challenge. But City haven't been there. They might be showing semblances of getting there now, potentially. I don't think they're going to go on a run that they have done in the past, but we certainly need to get our act together if we are going to get over the line in May.
Yeah, I mean, we'll touch on the league and what's coming next few games, a bit later. But I mean, for me, no, I don't think it was a good point. As far as the season's concerned, we need to be winning. But I think if you take last night's game, given who Brentford are, the team that we had out, I think they could have easily won that game as well. So I think to get away with a point, considering the performance we put out there, I think in isolation you take it. And I think I was saying today in the WhatsApp group, look, we are the superior team over a period of a season. We will be better than Brentford, but on any given day, and actually this is the Premiership this season as a whole, anyone can beat anyone, and I don't think we were particularly strong favourites, if favourites at all, last night. I said, given the, my angst started the night before when we got the Orm bomb about Havertz being out with a muscular injury for a couple of weeks, missing Brentford, Wolves, Spurs, and that really knocked me for six, along with Moreno being out, and this was such a game for those two guys last night. With the physicality and the way we'd need to play, missing those two was ridiculous. You add to that Saka being not fit, Odegaard not sure, potentially Leo being out. We're going into this with like some really, really big players missing, and they're pretty much fully fit. I think they're one of the form teams in the last six. So I wasn't saying we were particularly favourites. We should still go and win. And as 6 times out of 10 we win, we draw a couple, we lose a couple out of 10 games, and that's just fairly standard. They're 7th in the league, so even just a bit above, mid-table. And we're expecting the squad to step up, the likes of Eze to step up, and I think we'll get to that. So I said we could have easily lost, and so I think it's frustrating. I think you take the point in isolation, even though we could have won it, but they could have also won it as well. So there we go. So that's that. And we'll look at the wider impact later. So we heard the news about Havertz the night before. We already knew about various other teams. So we saw the lineup. We were all wondering what was happening. So Raya, Timber. Oh, and then we get the nice news that Saliba's off sick. So that's another big miss. So we have Timber, Mosquera, Gabriel, Hincapié at the back, Zubimendi, Rice, Eze in the middle, and Madueke, Trossard, and Gyökeres. So, Jamie, do you think that was still a good enough team to win? Any thoughts on that lineup?
It's a good enough team to beat Brentford. Yeah, I think so. I didn't have any doubts that was an appropriate side to be able to put out.
And Andy, how did you feel about that team?
Yeah, pretty similar, to be honest. I mean, when, like, kind of in retrospect, looking at the game, I was almost kind of sitting there thinking at the final whistle, like, did players like Zubimendi potentially have an illness as well? Because I don't think he was horrendous, but he just wasn't his usual self, kind of popping up in the spaces and taking it off the defence. So I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he was maybe suffering with something similar to Saliba, maybe Timber as well. Although it could just equally be.
I think it's just knackeredness. I think we're just those two. I think. Zubimendi's got the most minutes of an outfield player this season, and I think it's just, he's just not running to the ground, but he's just had to play a lot. And yesterday was a really sort of physical, sort of battling sort of game. A lot of shuttles, I'd suggest as well, and maybe it's just a bit of fatigue setting in. And the same with Timber, someone who gets up and down a lot, not necessarily effective, but I think just tiredness generally setting in. But again, this is where, how much can you trust the squad? Because you bring in someone like Eze in, and he goes a hiding, and he goes a missing, and stuff like that. So and you know what Arteta's like with trust. You know so clearly who he trusts, and he'd rather maybe trust an 80%, 90% fit Timber or 90-80% fit Zubimendi than say a Nordgaard or even a White. And maybe the issue is the team we put out against Sunderland. Did we have to play, Timber, for instance, and Jamie, Timber, for instance, I feel like he did not have to play against Sunderland. I think White would have been perfectly fine against Sunderland, attacking threat, fine, his defensive, whatever. Where are you on that? Did you think we're still overplaying certain players, and we have some trust issues there? Like, again, Nordgaard not getting minutes. Look, we all want our best players to play. but also we have to trust the squad in certain instances, certain starters.
I think he's rotated quite a lot this season, to be honest, certainly in comparison to previous ones. So, yeah, individual ones maybe you can look at, but again, I didn't really get the impression with Timber that he was blown out the arse stamina-wise compared to what he had been previously. I don't think it was a great night for us. I think your point on Mikel Merino was a really good one, actually. I meant to say that when talking about the lineup, that he's probably, in retrospect, you look back at that game and you really wish he was there, because it was quite physical and it was quite chaotic. And I think, to Andy's point as well, maybe that is partly why Zubimendi didn't look his usual self, because there was just so much kind of chaos and physicality, and that's probably not necessarily a strong point. He's not a completely unphysical player, but it's not his forte. And I think, reading the game is one of his massive strengths.
Yeah.
Bloody hard game to read that. Balls all over the gaff all the time. And most of the time as well, it was going over his head. There was a lot of time, long balls both teams, going up the pitch. So it was that kind of direct and kind of bypassing the midfield at times that's probably why that occurred. And I think in the likes of Timber as well, I totally appreciate your point. I think most of the time in these kind of big matches, which every Premier League game is right now, every cup game is right now, really, to be honest, this is the business end. You do just try and put out your strongest team, and you're probably balancing those that you are resting with those that and those that are absent due to injury, with how much you can then rest other players, right? So maybe that's a part of it as well, is it's that combined effect that when you're missing a couple of other guys, maybe that means that Timber's more essential in his position than necessarily some of than necessarily being able to rest him.
Yeah, the cumulative effect of changes.
Cumulative strength, exactly.
Yeah, you change one player, changing two players and three players, it all adds up. I guess that, with Havertz and Moreno, their height as well, the set pieces would have helped. But I think to Andy's point, it was strong enough to win the game.
Yeah, I was just going to say on Havertz though, I think having him completely changes the game for height, but also because Brentford came in there with quite a high press, and kind of one of the ways to overcome that is to put Havertz into the channels, play the ball over the top and try and spin them. I mean, ironically, Gyökeres did have one of his better games in terms of holding up the ball and bringing others into play, but he's not Havertz in terms of those channel runs. I don't even think he comes close, to be honest. But although Havertz is one of the kind of best in the league, best in Europe at that. And I think if we do have Havertz up top, and I know it's all if buts and maybes, it's a different game. I think we see ourselves controlling a lot more of the ball. I think that first half doesn't happen. I think we then have a lot longer to actually to kind of methodically prod and do our kind of standard, like some call it the horseshoe, but kind of our standard kind of attacking phases of play. It's just that we couldn't keep the ball in that first half, and I think Havertz in retrospect was just such a huge miss, because it completely changed the rhythm of the game, which then made it even more difficult for the likes of Zubimendi, and it meant that Rice had to put on his cape and pretty much save the whole midfield.
Yeah, he was a one-man midfield yesterday, it felt at times. And I think Havertz either up top or supporting Gyökeres, so in the left eight instead of because it felt like, you're right. If they're pressing, they did a man-to-man press and all the rest of it. So we've either got to be really brave with our passing and receiving of the ball, or when it goes over the top, you need to get close to Gyökeres. And Eze was nowhere near him. The midfielders maybe were too wide, where Havertz, you feel he's good at knowing where to be, when to be. Yeah, he seems to have that knack. And if you compare how we did that versus how Brentford did it, they always felt a threat. Thiago and Altaro, whenever they're going long, getting the first and second balls, it felt always, this could be danger, this could be trouble. Whereas with us, it was less. You didn't have that confidence, and they played that game better than we did. And you're right, that first half there was no control. And with the horseshoe of death, I don't mind it at times. Take the sting out of the game. It's never a wild atmosphere at Brentford, but a night under the lights, you just want to take the sting out of the game, or you want to decrease the frequency of what they are doing, because we can handle balls over the top occasionally, but if it's time after time after time because we're not holding on to it, then it's the cumulative effect of that, that stress, constant stress. That's where it becomes an issue. The horseshoe death sometimes isn't about us attacking, it's us just killing the momentum of the opposition, and we just die that down until we find that moment. And I think maybe sometimes that's lost on people because they just say, oh well, aren't we attacking more? Well, maybe it's just to I say kill that momentum, and then we sort of go again. I think that's the way football's going. It's not all blood and thunder back and forth basketball matches. It's sort of moments now. It's more sort of like 5 minutes of threat, and then we'll calm down. 5 minutes, and it's sort of moments of that rather than just And that's the one thing Arteta wants to avoid is basketball games. He hates seeing that on a football pitch. So with that in mind, in terms of the game itself, Jamie, do you have any highlights and lowlights on the game?
I mean, the simple highlight is Noni Madueke's header because A, it's the only goal we scored, and B, it was just bloody lovely, wasn't it? That was a cracking. I think actually I heard it had a diversion. I barely watched it back at all. I couldn't bring myself to really. But either way, the way it looped in, I just love a looping header. There's just something about it, the way it's got that lovely sort of arch, and the keeper goes sprawling, and it's just it looks like it's in slow motion when it's in real time. That's the beauty of a looping header to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was genuine fun. That'll go down as being, probably one of my fave goals of the season in a weird way because I just love them.
Especially because it's Madueke. You're not expecting that from Madueke as well.
No,
so I was really surprised.
You don't necessarily think that header is in his locker at all, do you? So that was great. Low light, it kind of two moments really. I'm not going to dwell on loads of other ones. The two to me are just come down to the point where Odegaard robs the Brentford player. It works its way through. We're moving the ball nicely. Gets through to Rice, and he squares it to Gyökeres when he could just lash it on his left. He's got enough space himself, and he's in the kind of range where he just needs to put it away. And then on top of that, it's
like Bournemouth, isn't it? It's like the goals he scored against Bournemouth, coming in on the edge of the box, put it away.
Exactly. And Gyökeres is also on his heels as well. So when he does square it, Gyökeres to me at that point has to be an Ian Wright going, give it me. Nobody's coming over here and pushing me off this ball. And that's still the instinct that, purple patch or not in terms of a few goals. And however people felt about his performance yesterday, I actually didn't think he was very good at all because that's literally what he's paid to do, in my opinion. Just can't do that at all. You've got to be on your toes in that position and imposing yourself upon anybody that wants to come in and clean you out. So anyway, that's my two moments, all encapsulated within that one little bit there.
Okay. By the way, did anyone else hear that ping?
I think that might have been a work notification from me. Sorry, let me turn it off.
I don't know, but it's just like, wow, that came out loud. That goes, wow. Anyway, sorry about that. Andy, what was your highlight and low light from the game?
No, I think Jamie's taken quite rightly taken the only highlight. I mean, outside of that, probably clutching at straws a wee bit, but I guess the first 10, 15, 20 minutes up until we scored, I think we did come out a completely different team. I wouldn't put that all down to the Odegaard Eze change. I'd assume there was some strong words at half time for a few players, including Noni Madueke. Actually, I thought he was
It was a very Noni game yesterday.
Yeah, he looked dangerous in some moments, and then in other ones you're just like, where are you going and what are you trying to do? What's in your head?
You just summed up a Noni Madueke game. There you go.
There's moments of Gervinho in him, isn't there? I do sometimes look at him and just think, oh, you've got so much Gervinho about you, mate. Genuinely.
Yeah. Oh, please no, God.
But yeah, I think that first 15, 20 minutes, I thought Okafe played well as well when he came out for the second half. A few good crosses, obviously the cross for the goal. But yeah, it just didn't really last long enough, and we seemed to drop. And I think that is my low light, just how quickly we seemed to drop off as soon as we scored. I don't know if it's enough of a theme to call it a feature of this season, but it does seem that my brains immediately went to the Man United game, we scored through Moreno, and then kind of a few minutes later we just seemed to drop off quickly, and they obviously go up the other end and score, admittedly an absolute screamer through Cunha, which you can't always legislate for, but it just seems it's happened a few times this season. We score and then we retreat, and it's almost like we want to give ourselves a bit of a breather, potentially because it's been so difficult and we've been knocking at the door for so long to break teams down, especially at home. We just kind of we want a bit of a breather. We want to kind of pass it around ourselves, but then in doing that, we kind of encourage the team that we're playing against onto us, and I think that exactly happened last night. I think if we'd have made it through another 5-10 minutes, I'm not sure whether our own substitutes helped, but if we made it through another kind of 5 or 10 minutes without letting them kind of get their backs up and build a bit of momentum, we might have got away with the team. Yeah. But yes, I think just that feeling after we scored of that 5-10 minutes, I felt we could have managed it a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Stillman had a good article, and I think he mentioned it yesterday as well on the on our blog today, talking about we work so hard to get a goal. It takes so much effort that you're right. You just need to mentally switch off for a few minutes just to and breathe and relax, and then we'll go again. And within that time, we're very quick. The worst thing we do is score. It sounds really bizarre, but it has been times where you score. You're right, very quickly. One reason, another. We have been letting in goals very, very quickly after we scored, or soon after, or we haven't got that second. So again, it's that it leads to a lot of things. It leads to a lot of that things about our lack of chance creation, and therefore you're open to variance, and you're open to other teams, something happening. And if you're always relying on one or two chances, then I think there's that record, like it's only Leeds and Burnley that we've won by more than one goal. Like that was 4-0 and 2-0. All the others have all just been by one goal, and so eventually, if you're hanging on, it's eventually things are going to give. So it's down to not getting that second and third goal. We are a team. We're not as solid as we used to be. So we're a team that needs that second and third goal to guarantee we win games, especially away from home, and we struggle. So I think there's that. And look, it's what opposition do, is the way they set up against us. But it's also partly our inability to create chances and a mixture of both. And it's just fucking hard. And so when something's really hard, it takes a lot of energy and effort, and then I think that impacts the psyche a bit, or they release. So, all right, we've done that. We're going to go on and win the game, and you forget to do the winning game stuff. I had a couple of highlights. I thought Mosquera's performance was a highlight. It's still not as good as Saliba, but the drop off is not particularly big, especially defensively. Okay, going forward, Saliba's actually been stepping up quite a lot recently, but defensively, Mosquera's been pretty good. So I thought his performance was a highlight. And then maybe the other highlight was Big G not getting sent off. I don't know if people thought that was a card, but I've seen mixed things. I've seen some commentary where it said not. I think other commentary saying it should have been. I think he only would have missed a Wigan game had he been sent off, but still, I think that was quite handy, him not being sent off. And then low light, was not just Rice shooting, but also Martinelli should have shot first time. Because the goalkeeper's not settled, the space is there. Just take the chance. As soon as granted, Kelleher came out and blocked it well. Okay, if he chipped it a little bit, it goes in. But the Rice is the one. Because I was there. I was there, and it was sort of right in front of me, and the shot is the option. And I've seen somewhere it was only a 20-30% chance. Yeah, but most goals, unless it's an open goal, are 20, 30, 40% chances. Was Gyökeres really going to be that much better given the time and space and how he's closed down? So just hit it. Really, just hit it. And he did it twice against Bournemouth. So I would love to know genuinely why he didn't. Yeah, most people say, I saw Gyökeres in a better position, but was he? Or was that just not bravery? You too afraid to? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why he didn't shoot there. It was very, very frustrating and a bit of a low light. So there you go. It didn't happen. We have to move on, and again, hopefully we learn from it. But it doesn't make any sense whether he does it one week and he doesn't do it the other week. I don't get it. Right, in terms of the game itself, match stats. We had the majority of the possession, 59% to 41, but we only had 0.6 XG to their 1.51. We had 7 shots to their 12. They had 3 on target to our 2. They had 3 big chances to our 1. And the 0.86 XG is the lowest we've had all season. Oh, the third lowest behind the 2 games against Liverpool. And we know how those ended up. And this is the biggest XG deficit we've had in terms of what the opposition had versus us. So in terms of, that's what I'm saying, in terms of gaining a point, there's a lot of things going, Brentford will be coming away thinking we should have had all 3. Yeah. And what did you make of Brentford's tactics? Because it was very, how do you feel when you're playing teams like Brentford? And the one thing I came to realise yesterday is that I can understand now why people hate our set piece prowess, because it pissed me off right royally what Brentford were doing with their long throws and their corners. It really wound me up. And it was sort of like, oh, I guess, well, because we're good at them. And you're going, well, is that all you can do? Why don't you play proper football? And, there's pot calling kettle black here. So, yeah, and they were very direct, very going long. Yeah, they played to their strengths. They can play around a bit, but they played to their strength. Yeah, how did you feel, Jamie, about their tactics and how they approached that game, particularly playing us? Now, we're not that weak team of old, so we're not getting, Arsenal hate it up them. But, yeah, I don't know if there's a vulnerability there or just, they're just good at what they know what they can do and they're good at doing it.
I had exactly the same thought as you during the game, because I was thinking about the fact it felt, in general, it felt a bit like a throwback match, right?
What was your Bruce Rioch football? What was that?
Yeah, man, Bruce Rioch football, isn't it? What? Like, as in Bruce Rioch, manager of Arsenal 95, 96, formerly of Bolton Wanderers, and Scotland and Villa winger of the 70s in the days where, everything was being booted one side to the other and everybody was being booted up in the air. It's just a very Bruce Rioch game, all right, mate? I wanted to say George, I could have gone with George Graham football, but I think that would have been wrong. I don't think that would have been right at all. So George Graham would have fucking hated that match. It was like nowhere near enough structure for him. What's that? We went 1-0 up and didn't win the game. You absolute bunch of pricks. So anyway, so it was very Bruce Rioch. It was. It had these kind of throwback qualities, and it had this feeling as well. It reminded me very specifically of like playing against that particular era of Bolton team. When they used to bully us, and Blackburn, Mark Hughes, Blackburn, Sam Allardyce's Bolton, probably a bit of Paul Jules Wigan, all of those teams that used to really like putting it up us. And we very rarely lost to them, but there used to be some really pronounced draws exactly like this. And it felt quite similar, where it just felt like we were never able to do what we'd gone there to do. That was the way it felt under Arsene. And under Arsene, my feelings, I think, like a lot of Arsenal fans, were quite they were a bit, talking of pomposity that's been mentioned at certain times today, Tabs, I was relatively pompous about it and a bit righteous about it. And, well, the thing is, we're out there playing football like Brazil and you bastards are doing that, So there was a moment where I instinctively felt that way about the game, and then sort of had to catch myself and go, nah, come on now, look at what we do these days. We absolutely thrive on the physicality and the set piece and utilising those to be a key part of our game. And we have done in the past before as well, and you kind of, to me, I certainly had that same moment and that same feeling instinctively.
I think with corners, there's a bit more of tactical, there's a bit more of manoeuvre, there's the skill in where you're putting the ball with a corner, and Declan Rice and Saka got that down to a T. So I think that there's a bit more to it than that. But the throw-ins is literally just throwing it into a melee of chaos, and there is no skill in that.
Tabs, mate, that just comes across as just so sort of like. Well, the thing is, like, really,
I know
we do it in a refined way, but they do it in a really first style kind of way.
Well, I'm just saying the difference.
Tabs, man, such a hipster. I would say my overall
corner versus throw-ins. I'm saying corner versus throw-ins. That's what I'm saying.
I think they do. It was real chaos that they introduced to the game, and this is generally when you unsettle Arsenal. Actually, I don't think it is the physicality these days. We dominate a lot of teams physically. We love that. Similarly, as well, Wenger's greatest Arsenal teams were physically very dominant too, but you could knock them out their stride by making the game very chaotic, and that's what happened. It was about nullifying what we like, and we like control, and we could not get control. And it was, and as you say, the bypassing of the midfield in particular is great. Most teams do want to go through the midfield these days, even the teams in the lower half, and we're well equipped to be able to deal with that and dominate in the midfield. When you bypass it, we rely a lot on the fact then we've got these fantastically mobile centre halves that if you literally go long, then they'll go toe to toe with you on that, and it's not a massive threat. But what it stops us doing is getting our feet on the ball and kind of controlling the game and the rhythm and the tempo of the game in the way that we particularly want to. So it just felt like the entire game we didn't really get the if you like, the kind of the Arteta mantras going, So that was more what bothered me than the physicality and the set pieces. Like, that was by the by,
Yeah, we totally never settled. I mean, the canary in the coal mine for the kind of the game was that Gabriel pass out after about 10 minutes when he just puts it straight out of play. We just weren't settled at all, and part of that I think was potentially, I don't know, not into the kind of whole narrative thing, but I don't know if City don't win. If City don't win on Sunday, is there a wee bit more kind of relaxation that comes into the game, and do we start off just a little bit more calm? Like, even if it's only 1 or 2%, that's all it kind of sometimes takes at the highest level of the game. But when that first pass went out for the corner and Raya missed it, and then kind of 10-15 minutes later, Raya's screaming out of his box to try and put us on a counter, and he throws it right to them, and you're like, lads, can we just chill? And I think it's to Jamie's point, they just created, I mean, in the first half I think we created a lot of our own chaos, but in that second half they just don't. It was kind of like hallmarks of Stoke as well, where Rory Delap's just pumping the ball in and you just don't get a respite. And you see Raya then from throw-ins and corners, like trying to get around everyone and trying to get on, but then he falls to the ground, and it just kind of adds to this like groundswell of panic. And you never get the ball away, and you're like, it just feels like it's just this relentless onslaught of pumped high balls, and like, yeah, we are a lot better at dealing with it now, but eventually you put enough balls in the box, one of them will fall, and one of them will kind of fall in a way that it'll go to an Odegaard, like what happened last night, and they're there to just put it in. It was just brutal to try.
Well, that's the thing with our corners. Sometimes we score with the first corner, and that's great, but it is that people are nervous. But we've seen it. The way we scored the Leeds goal, there wasn't an Arsenal player in sight, and they pushed it into their own net because they're like so fearful of us. So, and I think you're right. I think in isolation, so if it's just one threat, and this was the thing when it was at the Emirates, they didn't have that constant one after the other, and we could deal with things in isolation, but it is that constant. So when they scored their goal, I think they had 2 or 3 corners and 2-3 throw-ins back to back, and we could just not clear our lines and just could not get a breather. And I think that's it. Yeah, and I think that was the point I was trying to make in the group. So actually, Brentford from set pieces, they're only 10th in the league scoring from set pieces. Yeah, but you throw enough shit at the wall, something's going to stick. So and that eventually was happens. And my point I think was still valid. It's just that eventually, because there was like 3 throw-ins back to back and 3 corners or whatever it was. Yeah, it law of averages suggests, and this also works for us as well. Defend. The opposition teams are throwing the ball into their own net because they're all fearful, and we make a big deal of it. And so Brentford are doing the same thing. It's a whole drama. They're wiping the ball. Each throw-in takes a minute. And we do the same with corners. We slow everything down. We try and get into everyone's head. So fair play to them for playing to their strengths. But yeah, it just wound me up, and I hated every minute of it, which was yeah. So I have some sympathy for the opposition fans when they talk about it, but yeah, cry more. Right. Anyway, so the first half, there wasn't a lot of quality from either team. I think it was very to and fro, but we both had periods of dominance, but not creating anything. Very scrappy, lots of niggly fouls. Not sure. The ref was inconsistent as well, so you don't know what was a yellow, what wasn't a yellow, what should have been given, what shouldn't, and neither team could really string 2 passes together. And I was going through here what happened. I think we had a header. Gabriel went close from a header on the 11th minute. Gabriel gets booked on the 20th minute when he slid in on Thiago, a bit desperate. And then to your point, from that fast throw out from Ray, and he tried to do it against Sunderland a couple of times, and the one Sunderland player got booked. And Rice broke, and then Rice slipped over. Do you want to see him doing that? I'm trying to think. I think there maybe was a break, but it feels like it's don't know. Is that something you actually say? Okay, yeah, it's a way to try and break and Brentford all forward, or just calm down, keep hold of the ball, let's settle? Is it just feeding into the chaos of a game? Don't know, Jamie.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I haven't really thought too much about it, if I'm completely honest with you. I get the frustration. I get it. And a game becomes chaotic, right? And there's some way if you lack the ability on the night to be able to absolutely impose yourself on it and calm it down and have it be controllable and have it be the game that you want it to be, then to a certain extent what ends up happening, I think quite instinctively, and you'll know this from when you go and play football yourself, and even, you know, five aside or whatever as well, when sometimes you're on a half decent team and you just absolutely descend into chaotically lumping about and, you know, beating the shit out of each other and giving everybody a whack all the time and everything being end to end and everybody being out of position. And I think there's a psychology there that goes right the way up into the professional ranks. It just plays out in a, you know, with a much lower floor for how kind of chaotic that gets, right? It's still, you know, this game was still not as chaotic as a game at Hackney Marshes, but I think that's kind of how I look at it a little bit, is that players end up sort of, you might call it regressing, or you might say sort of, you know, reverting to the mean of the game or whatever it might be. Like, you know, if you can't impose what that game is going to be, if you can't say this is what's going to happen, there's a little bit of goes with the flow that happens, and everybody gets a bit wound up and everybody just sort of starts running around like headless chickens somewhat. And I say that benefits Brentford, works really well for them. Not that they've got good footballers, but they are set up in such a way that they want that bit of chaos because they're fantastic in those environments. They have the physical and technical attributes that allow them to thrive in that, and fair play to them, you know. And so in a weird way, sort of enjoyed the game as a whole. As a result, it was you know, kind of fascinating to watch because it was just so atypical, as a lot of Brentford games are. When they're at their best, they are quite, and that's not just been now. That was the same under Thomas Frank a lot of the time as well. It feels really atypical of Premier League football, and indeed, you know, maybe of modern football as a whole in this slightly more homogenised sort of world football that you get now. And that for me was fascinating to watch, but I get that it's going to be frustrating when you see people not doing what they usually do. But I think that's game state. I think that's, you know, it's a very long way round of me saying I think he's got carried away with the game state effectively and playing what's in front of him. And maybe when you've got 11 players that do that, or the majority of those 11 do that, that's when you lack that control and you're not able to impose yourself.
I mean, the fact that he's done it a few times, it was clear at Sunderland. Maybe he's under instruction. Maybe he said, right, we're in these positions. If we can get a quick break, you know, transition quickly, then maybe he's under instruction. Who's knows? But he sort of made up for the error because he made a fantastic save. It was a great cross in. Thiago headed it superbly, did everything right down, and I think it was good savable height for Raya, but he did well to make up for it. But that was it. That was pretty much it for the whole of that half. And then, as you alluded to, Andy, the beginning of the second half. So there was the sub, Eza off, Odegaard on. What did you make of that substitution? Yeah, not in hindsight, but at the time, you know, did you feel like it was a good substitution to make? You know, and what did you make of Eza's performance or lack of performance, shall we say?
Yeah, so I think something needs to change, and that was the most obvious change that was going to happen. Obviously, without kind of having Kai Havertz or anything like that on the bench, you're not going to take Gyökeres off. And Eze was just completely missing. I would love to know what has happened to that player since. Well, I think we probably know his confidence shot to bits after being hooked at Aston Villa. And that's always the danger when you've got such a high high, like when Arteta wants these high standards for off the ball play. One player who's not necessarily always used to it makes a mistake, and then he gets pulled, and now we've pretty much lost him since that game. And he's not 19, he's 27, and I am kind of worried at what has happened to him, because he has obviously been playing in the Premier League for a long time. He's an England international. He's went through setbacks. I mean, his kind of path to becoming a footballer since he left Hale End hasn't been typical. Like, he's been in and out of QPR, he's been in and out of the leagues, he then kind of done really well with Crystal Palace and got his dream move. But so there's been a lot of adversity through that, and I am slightly worried as to kind of what we're seeing at the minute from Eze, because a lot of what I seen last night was hiding. He didn't make himself available. He didn't make himself. And I know, like, we weren't playing well either. Like, I mean, it's probably hard for Eze to play well when the likes of Zubimendi isn't having his best game either. But yeah, I'm slightly concerned about. The first 45 minutes from him last night was not good enough, but I think when you take it within that wider context, it is concerning. So no, I wasn't surprised to see him come off. I actually said that me and Moz were watching the game last night, and I said once the halftime whistle went, I was like, I guarantee you Odegaard will be on at halftime. Just because we need to control the game, we need to get further up the pitch. We were so deep with where we were trying to create chances from, to the point where it was like, I don't know if you guys thought this, but like there was points in that first half where like the whole middle of the pitch was just so free. Like, I don't know, there was like Declan Rice, there was a couple of times that are springing to mind where he was just like running and bounding forward. You're like, well, I don't necessarily know if that's the game we want to play. I'm not sure, but it clearly wasn't.
Well, it's partly what Brentford give you as well. But on Eze, you mentioned the off the ball work, and that can be learnt, that can be taught. And look, our press was terrible in that first half. You know, Gyökeres can't do it on his own. You know, you can't do a one-man press, and Eze, that's not his thing. But then you alluded to, if he's hiding, that's got nothing to do with off the ball from a defensive perspective. That's making yourself step up, be the person, be that, you know, be that brave person. Say, I want the ball. I'm going to make a difference. He's played against Brentford before. This is not new to him, and Brentford have not changed. So Palace have played Brentford home and away the last God knows how many years. So he knows what they're doing. So step up. So if it's a confidence thing, well, taking him off at half-time isn't going to do that any good whatsoever. But, you know, Arteta's got to do what he feels is best for the team. But it is upsetting, disappointing, sad. You know, we all loved the signing, the story behind it. Yeah, you know, he I don't know, it feels like he was in awe of joining. It was like all his dreams come true. And I don't know whether that's, I don't know, is it too big for him all of a sudden to impose himself? You know, he's, you know, big fish in a small pond at Palace, to now he's one of many big fishes in a much bigger pond, and he isn't the best fish. No, any whatever fish analogies I'll use, but you know what I'm saying here. It's like, you know, and he needs to impose it. He needs to go. You know, I think he only had 17 touches in that first half. He needs to be going, right, this is what I need to do because this is what I can see happening. He says he's an intelligent player. The one thing that worries me is that we've got to February and we still don't know what to do with him. And you know, is that on Arteta? You know, because he's played minutes, maybe not some brilliant minutes, but he's played enough minutes. I think he had his best period when Moreno. There's that period when it was him and Moreno up front. So that says a lot about maybe the way Moreno plays. He's not so far forward as Gyökeres, and maybe they dovetail or work better together. Moreno would drop into midfield, as it would be, I think, Jamie, you spoke about yourself, like a false nine, or it'd end up being a centre forward when Moreno drops into midfield. That's not going to happen with Gyökeres. So it is worrying that we don't know, still don't know what to do with him, and it's February, and we're running out of time. And as we all know, Arteta, when he doesn't trust someone, you're out the circle of trust. You know, and it's very hard to get back in. But with the injuries though, he's going to have more chances. He'll be playing against Wigan.
Yeah. I mean, you are outside the circle of trust until you're not, though, and I think. Fingers crossed he has a good game against Wigan, but I think one of the things that this team does need to do is go through some sort of change, because it's too, I don't know, monotonous is maybe predictable is a better word. Like, and we've got big space transition players who can account for him maybe not doing everything that Arteta wants him to do off the ball. So maybe we free him up, and maybe that's the answer to unlocking something in the attack for the next kind of 6 to 12 weeks. Because I think my main concern about when we might get onto the discussion about the title race is just how kind of consistently predictable and that we are, and maybe Eze is the key to that.
Well, Jamie, he was meant to be brought in to be the Maverick. Maybe we had space within this team to have a Maverick. We got so much control everywhere else. Give the ball to Eze, see what he can do, see what he can create. You know, that's his job. And again, there's something there not happening. What are your thoughts on the Eze in a situation in inverted commas?
I mean, he's in a funk, right? And that happens with players. I think Andy's point about the Villa game, it's the timing of the Villa game that I still think is the worst for him. Because he's had that run where he's doing well, and then that game happens just as Odegaard is ready to come back. And that is such a tough one for him, unfortunately, because then Oda comes back in, limits the minutes that he's getting, and ultimately just means that then I think a player like him, who's, you say about main player syndrome. I don't think it's main player syndrome and everything going through him necessarily. I don't think he was always that player at Palace anyway. I think it's more just rhythm and feel. His best performance for Palace came second half of the season a lot of the time. And this was a player who's had quite a few knocks at various points in time for Palace. It was basically when he had a run of games. When he's playing a game in, game out, you're getting him. But he's not. And I think if you're not playing him game in, game out, for that kind of player who, lives off the feel for the game, feel for the team, and sort of playing in a very regular rhythm, I think it's a real struggle. Which admittedly is one of those points I make sometimes about the resting of players as well. If you talk to a load of players, actually there's a lot of players who say once you get used to playing every 3 days, you're out of form as soon as you haven't played every 3 days.
Declan Rice always talks about it. I'm in a rhythm, playing well. I don't want to stop.
Exactly. And I think that's happened with it. So I'm not as concerned as a lot of people are, because I think what I'm currently witnessing with him is a player that just isn't getting enough football to be in the rhythm that he needs to be in to be at his best. That's my interpretation of it. So
it's a bit of a catch.
I'm right. I don't know whether I am, but it is a catch-22 but that's a catch-22 that you get everywhere, right? You go to a club. This has happened to loads of players. How many players you go and see have a resurgence in their career elsewhere? This is the nature of the sport. Unfortunately, like you can end up being cast aside, not getting a run. When you get minutes, your minutes don't look great because you're not in a rhythm, you're not playing regularly. Because I don't think Eze's playing regularly for the 21s either. You know what I mean? He literally is getting minutes in kind of training, odd minute moments of games. And then for the 21s, as I've seen, he's had like a couple of times this whole season of getting about 20 minutes. And that's it. And then he's played in some of the behind closed doors games that we have picked up more and more of over the last couple of seasons. And that's that. Like, so he's just not getting enough for an instinctive player like him. That's my worry. And is he catch-22? It absolutely is. But that doesn't mean it's the end of him at the Arsenal in any way.
No,
it just means you look and you see whether you can utilise him again. And Odegaard gets injured tomorrow. 3 or 4
I think he might
in.
be already injured anyway after yesterday. We don't know. We haven't had the report from yesterday after
It's quite true.
Because there was a stark difference. But
if Odegaard got himself injured, I think what you'd need to see is Eze playing himself. It's that playing yourself into form, right? Just starting him yesterday against Brentford isn't enough. You need to give him a few 90s and then see if he's feeling good and see if he's feeling, and give him consistency in the players he's playing around a little bit. And after a while, players are able to drift in and out of sides a bit more, I think, potentially.
And that's my concern
Eze's
about...
always going to be one of the ones that's less able to do that. I just don't think instinct... And I think Odegaard's the same as well.
I think that's my concern with it being February. That's fine if we're talking about this in October or November, early into the season, blah, blah, blah. We're now in February, we're now in the final third of the season. We should know what to expect from people. And also maybe he's got to go, well, sorry, you don't have that luxury. He doesn't have that luxury anymore. You deliver or you're out. And so, I think the onus is also on him to sort of like shake off whatever that funk is. If he's got imposter syndrome, just
it's all on him. None of it's on us.
Yeah.
It's all on him. None of it's on us.
No. Well, I mean, but on Arteta, how much is it on him versus how much is Arteta having to facilitate him and stuff like that? But and shake off whatever funk it is, shake off the potential imposter syndrome, shake off, small fish, big fish, whatever cardboard box, whatever. So whatever the situation is, and to perform and who knows, maybe Tottenham are his team, so like he's just be firing at that. And fine, if he scores 2 hats against Tottenham throughout the season, I think we'll be loving him forever, irrespective of what he does. But we see. But Odegaard did come on and he did make a difference. You could see straight away, giving the ball, passing, lending the ball, giving the ball, moving, and just doing very Odegaard things. And we set up a chance. I think Hincapié lashed across a. Odegaard was involved with a sort of a Hincapié and Gyökeres moment in 47th, then also Trossard in the 48th. Then Odegaard had his own high and wide shot, but again he had a shot, he tried, wasn't great, but he was there. And then 61st minute, first minute, we did get our goal as we discussed. We sort of didn't let Brentford out from defence. Ball breaks to Hincapié, great cross, great header. And I didn't realise this. Apparently, we've scored more headed goals in the Premier League than any other team. That suggests basically from corners, but we had that. And then we had, I think, the sliding doors moment in the 67th minute with Rice. Again, Odegaard doing well, found Rice in the box. I think we all agree he should have shot. He didn't. He knew better. Gyökeres gets tackled. And then literally a minute later or 30 seconds later, Thiago goes up. Rea had to make a good save. Kyoto's up there and Gabriel's having to make a block, and it goes to a corner. And then we make an odd substitution. And this is maybe to Andy's point, I think you were making at the beginning about the whole season impacting the players, but maybe even Arteta. We bring on Saka for Madueke. And I understand Madueke is a 67-minute player. But I'm not sure that was the right choice, because he looked I don't know how they looked watching on TV, but he did not look fit. And it feels like, we need to, we're winning. Why bring on a subpar, unfit Saka for Madueke? Why not bring Martinelli, put him on that flank, keep Trossard on, keep the fitness. Trossard's fine. Maybe I don't know how much Trossard had in him based on his injury, but felt a bit. What did you think of Saka's non-performance? I mean, I think there was a stat like he touched it once in the final 25 yards, near Brentford's penalty area, in the whole of that game. He hardly did anything. Andy, what did you make of Saka?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. There kind of wasn't. There isn't too much to say. He didn't do anything. I think maybe the more interesting discussion potentially is why kind of Arteta did choose to bring him on, and I can only assume that was to try and regain some element of control, because I mean you fire the ball into Saka, he keeps it, he either beats his man, he passes it off, he lays it off, he invariably doesn't lose it, and that's not something you can maybe say Madueke does even 50% of the time. So I think it was pretty much just a game management decision. But to your point, whether you do that when your player has quite clearly pushed themselves to get into the match day squad, probably not, because they're not going to be able to deliver on kind of retaining the ball. They've not got the physicality to get in the positions where they can retain the ball. So yeah, I think in retrospect that's one where that sub probably doesn't happen. Maybe it is something like you said, you bring Martinelli on to the right, potentially just keep Madueke on. Like if he was, like he's not played a huge amount of football for us this season, and there was a moment maybe halfway through the second half where he kind of knocked the ball along the right and he got taken out and they drew a yellow card, and maybe that was the better play. Just let him do that for another 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe draw a few more fouls, get us up the pitch and get them away from being able to throw the ball in on top of us. I mean, Arteta probably is not going to know that Saka's going to come on and potentially do that level of performance.
Yeah, well, I think half of it is he doesn't get the ball as well. I don't think we actually got the ball to him much, so it's not like he showed a great deal either. But yeah, it just seemed a bit odd. And then Yeah, 1 minute up. Yeah, substitution that didn't work, and it would be interesting to understand the motivation behind it. And then in the 71st minute, yeah, long throw, flicked on. Gabriel doesn't get to the ball, or Hincapié. Gabriel's underneath and Hincapié behind, flicked on. Odegaard loses his man, and Lewis Potter's there, and I think just the pressure told. And these things happen. There's still 20 minutes to go, and I don't know how many people, if you said, would you take a draw? I think given where we are, well, what we're trying to achieve, I think no, we carry on and make a couple more subs. So in the 81st, Trossard and then Capio off, Martinelli and Calafiori on. I was a bit worried with Calafiori coming on with what Otara and Thiago were doing, because Capio, I think, again, had another decent game and has been sort of seen solid defensively. Calafiori was a bit suspect against Sunderland. Martinelli, happy for that substitution. Maybe bring Martinelli on. If you're going to take Trossard off in the 81st, bring Martinelli on in the 71st for Saka, then bring Saka on with 10 minutes to go. That sort of thing. If you're having to do that, it just seemed the order of those subs. And then there was the 83rd minute. Gabriel makes that foul. Were you concerned that was going to be a yellow? I mean, obviously everyone's baying for a yellow card in the crowd. Andy, did you think that was a yellow, heart and mouth moment?
Yeah, I thought he was gone. I thought I genuinely did. I think we got away with one. Was it PSV last year? Was it Miles got away with one? It's not quite as bad as that, but certainly felt like we did get away with one, because if he walks, then I'm not sure we walk with a point.
No, indeed. I think the one thing that might have helped us is that Brentford were going down quite easily at moments, and so maybe that, and it was right in front of the lineswoman, and I think she would have also maybe suggested. So I think maybe there was a couple of things there that saved him. But yeah. And then in the 88th minute, Mosquera made that mistake, but did a brilliant recovery. Thiago, I think, is going to score, because also Raya is sort of halfway out, and it just feels like he's just about to pull the trigger, and Mosquera recovered really well. But I was wondering if that went in. I don't know if you know, when Aston Villa played Brentford and Villa equalised, but they took it all the way back for a ball that was called out of play in the corner about a few. That was right in front of me, and I am 100% certain the ball went out. So I think even if they had scored, it would have been, well, hopefully called back. But still, Mosquera wasn't to know, and he made a great tackle. Rice, 91st minute, did brilliant defending to prevent a chance from Damsgaard. Not a lot happening, and then 93rd minute, lovely ball by Gyökeres to why is Timber in the 93rd minute our man breaking through the middle? It's nuts that it's him, but does well, finds Martinelli. Shoot with your left foot, Jamie, don't you? Just shoot first time. Don't give the goalkeeper a chance. You're not set near post. No one's going to forgive you for that. And that's the game.
I mean, what with the Martinelli one at the end? I mean, he's tried with the Thierry Henry, hasn't he? But Keller has come out with the left arm stretched. It's hard. It's going that quickly. He's obviously just gone, I'll go for the Henry here. Let's do the Henry. And then it doesn't happen. It was frustrating to watch, obviously, but I don't blame him too much. I think it's not the bad choice of finish in that position, right? When you watch it slow-mo is when I think it really comes home to me, at least anyway, because it just slow-mo from behind. You see him doing that, that inside of the boot Henry finish, positioning his body in that way, and he's just unfortunate that Keller has not reacted to it. Keller has come out with the outstretched arm, and he's managed to get it in the way. That one I'm less frustrated about than the Rice one.
Okay, I mean, Arteta.
The Rice has got to take it first time.
Yeah, and that's open. That's in front. You've got
those two things are far more, of a frustration for me, at least anyway.
I guess it's those moments in the season. Oh, you win that. Imagine you take that 2-1, and it's like, okay, we got one, and it's sort of like, again, that a bit like what those Manx did against Liverpool. You score that. Deserve it or not, who cares? It sort of can galvanise you onto other things. And look, even Arteta was quite blunt about it. He said that you asked whether whether Martinelli should have scored. He said you have to, it's football, and the keeper as well can make the decision and the action that he did. But if you want to win here, you're going to have to be really ruthless in both boxes, and today we lack that. I guess the counterpoint is, if you're having to rely on 1 or 2 chances every game to win a game, you're not creating enough chances. Yes, be efficient, just be more efficient over lots of chances. You can't be ruining, we missed that one chance. Yeah, you're not going to win titles just by relying on 1 or 2 chances every game and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say that maybe he needs to look a bit broader on that one. Brentford still, given all the time they take throw-ins, they had added time to take more throw-ins, but luckily nothing happened. So there we go. Look, of the 17 games in which we've actually scored first, we've only lost 1. We've won 15, drawn 1, lost 1. So Man United we drew, and Man United we lost, and this one we drew. And so it's just unfortunate that the other 15 times before that. So we've got the recent memory, of failing after scoring first. Normally we are a very good team scoring first. In terms of other players, I think we talked all about it. We talked about Rice being a one-man midfield. We talked about Eze, Mosquera. I think Trossard had another diligent display. He hasn't had much chance to prove his end product, but he seems to be valuable. So we'll move on from the actual game itself. Jamie, how are you feeling about our title pursuit at the moment as it stands?
Pretty good. It's a 4-point lead, isn't it? Like it is what it is. I'd feel better about it being 6. I'd feel better about it being 8. I'd feel better about it being 10. I'd feel even better about it being 12. Like that, it's in. We're currently top of the league by 4 points with 12 games to go. It's a good place to be. The momentum is neither with us nor City. That's the interesting bit about it, right? Normally by this point, I feel like, regardless of whether it be it kind of depends. Regardless of how we got here, one team looks like they are right. Okay, these guys are going to gallop away with it now. They've got real momentum behind them. We don't feel like that, but neither does City. They don't feel like this relentless pressure behind us whatsoever. They keep slipping up. They're not that good. They don't control games. They've got fantastic ability in a couple of areas of the pitch that allow them to win more games than they do, and they're a better team than they were last season. All these good things. But are they the people that have got this PTSD over the horrendous galloping hooves on our heels the entire time in those seasons where they overtook us? They're not that team. Does that mean I think that they can't win the league? Absolutely not. They totally can win it. They have the ability to be able to see it out and get enough points. But I don't feel it's like something that we should be intimidated by. We should be looking at that lead at the moment and saying, great, we're in first. They've got to try and catch us, and they've got to be bloody perfect,
Where do you sit, Andy?
Pretty similar, to be honest. I'm still confident. I still think we do it. There was some kind of discussions probably late last year, early Jan, about it being maybe a bit of a cakewalk. I heard some people saying rest some players in the league or the Champions League quarterfinals and semi-finals. That's certainly not happening. But no, I think I'm still confident. I think our defence, our floor is absolutely elite. We are A+ in defence. We're A+ in midfield. We slightly dropped down, in my opinion, to B, potentially B+ in attacking midfield and going forward, especially when Saka's not kind of carrying a lot of the load. But I still think that our floor is elite, and that is what will ultimately take us there. I think the pressure is going to significantly ramp up. Man City's result on Sunday against Liverpool didn't help. I'm not too bothered about the result against Fulham. Fulham always kind of roll over and get their bellies tickled by Man City. But I do think how this team handles pressure over the next 4 or 5 weeks is going to be incredibly telling, because City have got some quite easy fixtures and then we play them, and it'd be really, really, really interesting. But I would absolutely hate it if we get drawn against them on their side of the Champions League draw. But I think the pressure is going to ramp up, but I do think our fan base isn't, but I do think the team is mentally and emotionally stronger than we were last year. I've got a stronger squad, and I do think we just about get over the line. I don't think it'll be by many points, and it certainly won't be the cakewalk, like I said, that some have thought it might be. But I still think we win by 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, the next 4 league games. So we've got Wolves away on Wednesday, then Tottenham away, Chelsea at home, then Brighton away. Feels like we're just playing away constantly. And they've got Newcastle at home, Leeds away, Forest at home, and then West Ham away. Look, and I get the angst is always worst case scenario for us, best case scenario for them. But do you not understand those glass half full, those that are concerned, given our recent form, given our propensity to not be able to create huge amounts of chances, and just tend to just generally making things difficult for ourselves, particularly away from home. And I'm not 100% certain on the mentality thing, because, and people are saying, "Oh, well, City, it's not the same players, so they've not been through this by 1 or 2, but the club have." And so even if you're within that club environment, you absorb that aura, you absorb that sort of thing that we've been here, done it. They're not going to be so stressed about it. For them, this is just another season. We're just doing our thing. Second, third, and to be honest, even if they don't come first, they're not going to be so bothered about coming second. You know, of course they'll be annoyed, but they're not. The angst of them coming second versus us coming second is hugely different. So I don't think we're as emotional, and I think so that we're definitely more mature as a team. But there were still signs, again, like the sub with Saka yesterday. There were little things there that there's enough doubt in there to suggest, yeah, I'm not so sure. So Jamie, do you understand where the glass half full people are coming from? Where there was a big split in the WhatsApp group today. Like, there was a lot of negativity counteracted by positivity and stuff like that, and all based on stats, all based on feel, all based on. But can you understand that position?
Yeah, no. I can get it. There's a feeling of having been there before over recent seasons in particular, and I do appreciate that and get where people are coming from. At least I try to at least anyway. I struggle in general with language. Obviously we've got that example of that shared WhatsApp chat that we're in, but online, etc. as well. I do think a lot of the sort of the arguments come about from the fact that everybody just has to use such dramatic bloody language all the sodding time, and that is just a part of, to be frank, modern life that I just struggle with personally.
The binariness of modern life.
Yeah, I'm quite a literal person, so if somebody says like this is the end of the world, then I'm like,
shit.
All right, it's the end of the world. Like, I don't do this is the end of the world, and then being like, but I'm meant to figure out that it's not. Like, no, fuck off. You tell me what you think. Unless, and in text form at least anyway, in person obviously it's different. But I'm kind of shit at reading people over text effectively. So for me personally, at least anyway, I just have to head away from the socials and shit to get away from that sort of attitude. But I do understand where it's coming from. I don't have a problem with the folks that I know some of the people that are quite glass half empty about where we are right now are some of my favourite people to go and chat to about the Arsenal. So these things happen, but the big echo chamber that does all the big the great big wails of things are terrible and so on, that's why I just don't go online for a little bit after we've had any kind of draw, defeat, anything. It's just completely not worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone is doubting we're in a very good position. We would all take a 4-point top of the league. At this stage, if you'd offered us that in August 18th, you'll be 4 points top of the league. Come, where's it, 13th of February? Yes, please. It's how we've got here, and what's ahead. I think that's concerned. And so, look, and it's that. With the context of what could have been, the opportunities missed, and some worrying trends in our playing performances, I think it's just adding to the angst and just the the sheer desperation. That's all it is. The sheer desperation to win the league. It just leads to the extremes of reaction. Unlike me yesterday when I was at the game in the Brentford end, when I had to sit on my hand and not say a word when Madueke scored, which I was very proud of myself when I did. So there was no extreme reaction there. And I was saying to Andy beforehand, I almost forgot to stand up when Lewis Potter scored. But I did. But look, I'm someone who tends to lean to positivity, and even more so in response to negativity, and so if someone's like uber negative, I'll be trying to be uber positive. And so that ramps up. Also, I'm a bit of an argumentative git, which doesn't help the discourse. So you say black, well, I'm sure white has got a say in this as well. So, that's just my nature. And so maybe lends to a bit of a sort of, the type of discussion to be had. But, I think we're still on course. We faced a really good Brentford team who are in form. We're superior over the season, but a one-off games happens. Yeah, so I'll take being four points clear of City. It's in our hands. We can even lose to City and still win. The funniest thing will be happen if we win the league by one goal that got cancelled off at the end of the Liverpool game. That would be the most funniest thing. We win by thing. Yeah, and look, we would love a bigger buffer. We want this to be comfortable. We want this to be easy, but nothing really has changed since last night. So, yeah, look, it's ours to be won. We do our job. We win, but I can understand the angst as well. So
I don't have that, Tabs. I don't have a taking it to Crystal Palace to the final game. And, my hairline cannot take.
I'm struggling at the moment. I'm bloody just Havertz being injured just set me off, and I hate life. I hate football. I cannot take this anymore. I am in bits. I'm just Havertz's quads muscles is just like, even that is I'm completely on edge. I'm just I'm leaving. I don't know what I'm going to do if it got to that. I'm struggling as it is, and they say it's only February. So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, there we go. Look. Before we get on to Wigan, just do a few of your quick reviews. So thank you for sending in your 3 reviews of the Brentford game. I'll just quickly run through a few of those. So on Blue Sky, Notorious AFC agrees with us. Just fucking shoot. I like this one from Chris B. Welch Esquire. Brentford or Brazil, I guess having a look at who we're playing and how we're playing against them. Mr. C. the Gooner, same old story. Yeah, there's a bit of that about. On Threads, then there's a lot more, Nicky Gooner 06 could have lost. Justin Peter 7, take the point. From Dial Square, ongoing anxiety issues. Yeah, I feel you. But and then what else was there? Yeah, the Mayaka 4 points clear. We are, and Chapper's Delight, squeaky bum time. Not quite yet. But there we go. And then on X, Sean number 6, defund the BBC, end the monarchy, shit and shit, hashtag Arteta out. So okay. Each to their own. And then we have on the Grove WhatsApp group, Sensi, proper Paul that it was, Shanice B stung us, Charles, fuck's sake man, Matt Stacey, keep fucking up. Moz, Man City impetus, we know which side of the glass he's on, and Jamie Payton, Bruce Rioch football, bring it on. So, and I'm with the just bloody shoot brigade. Jesus, anyway, it is what it is. So thank you for sending those in, and we'll look forward to more of those after Wigan. And we play Wigan on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff at the Emirates, FA Cup 4th round. We've not played since the 2014 FA Cup semi where we drew 1-1. Med Saka late equaliser, 1-4-2 in penalties with Kim Kallstrom, he of the broken back, scoring, and a certain Mr. Mikel Arteta scoring 2. We're going to have sold out their allocation, so it should be a decent atmosphere. So Andy, what are you looking forward to, not looking forward to, as far as the Wigan FA Cup 4th round game is concerned?
Just before that, are they doing? Do you know if they're doing a similar thing that they did for the Chelsea Carabao Cup semi-final, where the fans are kind of split? Oh. Do you know that, or are they all?
No, I've not heard that, but I'm assuming so, because the allocation actually for the FA Cup is more, because there is no restriction for Carabao Cup.
That was just interesting in case you
don't know. I don't know because I don't remember at Sunderland whether it was still there. I don't know if they just put it in temporarily, or I'm assuming it will still be there. So I'm not so bothered because it's Wigan. Fair enough. Having a whole bunch of Manx behind the goal is a different story, but having or Chelsea, but Wigan, it's fine. Let them enjoy it. But
exactly. Looking forward to, I guess, a bit of a palate cleanser from the league tension. But I think I want a big, strong performance from Eze. I want to see him in that starting 11. I want a bit of a confidence builder for him, to hopefully get him back on the beat. I think, you could probably put Saka potentially in that in that camp as well, needing to play himself into a bit of form. In terms of not looking forward to, probably nothing. It seems like a pretty good game to have after a stressful Thursday night in West London. I don't think there's it. I guess there's the potential risk of something kind of going awry.
Injuries is the only thing really. So or a card of red colour, but that's the only thing.
Well, exactly, because with that, if someone gets sent off, would that put them out of the that would carry on
the Wolves game? No, put them out of the Wolves game, and because it's all in the FA. So, but anyway, I'm pretty sure that won't happen. So, I think all of us, in terms of not looking forward to is injuries, and that's about it. So, so Jamie, with that in mind, what are you looking forward to? You're taking Ian's. You're going along, taking Ian's ticket. So, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the fact it'll probably be one of the few spells of about 3 hours where I get to go out and not work for the weekend. So that'll be good. But no,
that's fine. That's something. There you go.
I think exactly as Ian says. Actually, I was beautifully summed up in just saying it's a breather, right? It's a moment away from the league and the pressure of that and the desperation to win. And even though don't get me wrong, I care profoundly about the FA Cup. It's Wigan. We really should be winning this, and it does just provide a little bit of overall relief, doesn't it? So hopefully, if we can go and have a bit of a stroll, then that would be really nice.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Just nice break and a few goals, and get a move away from the league pressures. So what sort of
team now? I'm not keeping up with stuff at the moment. Is he?
Say that again.
Is Dowman fit to be able to play these days?
No, he's still injured. I think he's just coming back from injury. So no, he's not ready. Well, because I've got a question mark here. We've got question mark playing at right midfield, right? Because what do you think the team's going to be? Because I was trying to piece this together. I was thinking White, Mosquera, Calafiori, MLS, Nordgaard, Eze, question mark, Jesus, Martinelli. The only other thing I was thinking, maybe do we try MLS in midfield and having Capier, Calafiori? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Who's going to play? Who's going to be the other midfielder and who's going to be the other wide forward? Andy.
I would give him a go. I think we've got Nordgaard in there. I wouldn't see a problem in giving his home game. One of the things I kind of mentioned it earlier about those open spaces against Brentford, and that just cries out for a ball carrier. And we all obviously MLS is massively not flavour of the month right now with Arteta, but had he been so, the ball carrying ability of MLS could have been perfect last night, but it just doesn't have that trust, and certainly last night wouldn't have been the time to test that trust. So I would really like to see him in that kind of left 8 role. To be honest, I'm not 100% bothered. I just want Zubimendi and Rice and Timber nowhere near that starting line.
Not even near the stadium. Stay at home. You're not allowed. You're banned.
Exactly. On the right, I'm not too worried about that. I would actually give Saka some minutes. Like, he looked very, very cold yesterday. You wouldn't have seen it, Tabs, Jamie. Maybe you had on the TV about him kind of unsheathing himself from water bottles before he came on. So I'd like to see him getting maybe 45 minutes and then sat down for Wolves and Tottenham. But outside of that, I'm not kind of too worried.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'd like to see MLS at midfield, Jamie, and I guess.
I'd love to. I'd like to see him there. It seems really weird, doesn't it, as a turnaround? Because I'm pretty sure about a year ago I was going, it's fine. They've been planning for him to play left back for a full 12 months or so before he started doing it in the first team. But now that we've got Hincapié and Calafiori, and it looks like he's needing opportunities, and also there's a Moreno-sized gap in midfield. I'd really like to see him get a couple of games there, and this is the absolute ideal place to give him a go, isn't it? So yeah, it would be really nice to see him there. I think it would be ideal.
Yeah,
and it'd be really nice to see a couple of the other boys as well, right? You know,
who
Shane Bauman's injured for it, but
who from the juniors can we bring in? Havertz and Moreno. Who was the other guy that came on? There was a couple of guys that came on when we played. Was it Kairat?
Oh, the big huge boys.
Yeah. So I don't know if they'll start, but they'll be on the bench.
Little Josh Nichols is a possibility.
Maybe.
There's
but White will play. So Josh Nichols won't. But
what's his name? The centre half. I can't remember the name.
Salmon maybe.
You're going to start, but there's a possibility he comes on as a sub.
Yeah.
So there's a few boys can get a go, right?
It's just the right forward and left midfield. I'm a bit unsure what we'll do there. Maybe Madueke. I don't know, but you just want to give people a rest, and then we play Wolves midweek, I think, on the Wednesday, but we'll see. We'll find out soon enough, and maybe Saka gets some more minutes just to make sure he's proper fit for the North London derby. So look, we're playing Wigan. Look, they are third from bottom in League One. So played 30, got 31 points. They've let in 42 goals, scored 31, so minus 11 goal difference. So look, these are like bottom of League One. The last few games, I think in their last 10, they've won one game, and that was Burton Albion away. Otherwise, they've drawn 2, lost 1, drawn 2, won 1, lost 7. They've just lost to Reading at home and lost 6-1 to Peterborough away recently. They've also got a new manager. It seems like anyone facing Arsenal feels like, oh shit, we need to get a new manager. They sacked manager Ryan Lowe last week. And they've got former Villa, Stoke and City player Glenn Whelan, Republic of Ireland, I think he is, ex-Republic of Ireland, now temporarily in charge. So, but he took charge of their loss at home to Reading, so I'm not sure there's going to be much of a new manager bounce. I had a look at their squad. I couldn't find anything old or young Arsenal related. So, I
think nothing. Your son plays for them, does he still? Or
who's that?
Jamie, who's that? Son, is he still there?
Oh, there was a.
James
I was wondering. James
Carragher's still there.
Yeah. Oh, is that Jamie Carragher's son?
Yeah.
So he had to call his son James Carragher. Jesus, fucking narcissist. Right. Anyway,
they're different names, mate. Come on.
Okay, James. Right. So there we go. So look, we should be winning this. It's just a matter by how many we can be bothered to win by. There shouldn't be any trouble here, and that's not being, whatever arrogant or whatever. This is again, league bottom of the table, League One, Wigan Athletic, who are going to get relegated. So with that in mind, what's your prediction, Andy?
3-0. I think we'll kind of race. I think 2-0 half time, get another one shortly after, and then kind of do the classic conservative pass around for the second half.
Okay. Jamie?
I'm actually going to go for like 4-0. I think Wigan are absolutely atrocious.
Okay.
Quite fun. I look forward to seeing whether Jamie talks about it on the overlap on the Monday as well.
It'll be interesting.
Just talk about his son quite often when he's got a big game. So we'll see.
Oh, okay. I tend to avoid the overlap, but apart from when Angie's talking about Tottenham not being a big club, but there we go. I'm going up the scales, and I've gone 5-0. So there we go. I think a bunch of goals should be fine. It's one of those odd ones. It's like, at what point do you take your foot off the gas, and even then, when you're taking the foot off the gas, you're still too good for a team like Wigan. So look, they bring in a big allocation down. They'll want to try and put in a show, but we should be too good for them, even with our second string. So let's just have a nice day out, a few goals, and no dramas. Okay. I don't know if I feel better after that or not, but always nice to talk to you guys. So thank you for that. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Jamie.
Not a problem, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Good. Okay, as always, you can follow us on Blue Sky Threads, X, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube channel, Spotify, WhatsApp at the Grove, not WhatsApp, Apple Podcast and Spotify, and at the Grove AFC. And next show will be post Wigan, pre Wolves. I'm guessing Monday, seeing as that we're playing on the Sunday. So keep an eye out for that. And as always, give us a like, subscribe, follow, rating, and comment, and all that jazz. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you. So I'm a bit on edge. I'm on board the fun boat though, and as they say, privilege is supposed to be no, not privilege. Pressure is supposed to be a privilege. So we're all very privileged people here in the Arsenal world. I wish it was easy, but unfortunately it's not. And yeah, it is what it is. We'll take it from there. And thank you for listening. And until the next time, come on, you Gunners.